Welcome back. Alright, let's get started. Today we are going to walk through the process of running MRP, Material Requirements Planning, in the system. I will guide you step by step. Okay, so let's get started. First, to access MRP, we will go under the Logistics folder. From there, navigate to Materials Management folder. Inside, you will find a folder for Materials Requirement Planning MRP. Expand that and then go to Material Forecast. Now, within the Material Forecast folder, go to MRP and then Planning. Here you will see the transaction codes MD01 or MD03 to run MRP. These are the primary transaction codes we will use. If you want to create the planned orders or check stocks, you will also find the folders for that as well. For an example, you can use the transaction codes like MD02 or MD04 to display stock or requirements list. Most of the time we use MD01, MD02 or MD03 for running the MRP. Now let's talk about MD02. You will find this transaction code under the production module. Expand the MRP folder and then go to planning. There you will see MD02, which is mostly used for running MRP. As you can see here, multi-level, single level, right? So the difference is the single level means that the material does not have any bill of materials. For an example, as I demonstrated you that our semi-finished product contains two different raw materials and those raw materials are used to create a semi-finished products. So in that case, if we run the MRP for that semi-finished product, then it will be a multi-level because indeed the raw materials will also be included in this MRP run. The semi-finished product contains in the data for raw materials as components, right? Now to check the stock or the requirements, you can use the MD04. It's a handy transaction code to remember. Also under the environment folder, you will find the reports like availability overview, and the transaction code for that is CO09, and it is also commonly used in MRP. Before we run MRP, we need to complete the settings in the material master and configure the materials requirements planning, right? I will demonstrate you this step by step. So first let us start with the settings in the material master. For that, execute the transaction code MM01. I'm currently in the transaction code MM01 and I will create a material for trading goods. To do this, I will create a new trading goods material by copying an existing material, okay, which is, let me take 9004440, and let's go ahead and create it. Start by choosing the industry sector as mechanical engineering and then the material types as HAWA trading goods. Click select views and then select all and click on org levels. Now here you can adjust your organization level settings. For an example, the storage location, sales organization, distribution channel. Since we are copying it from the same plant, storage location, sales organization, and the distribution channel. So we don't need to update the organization levels here. Okay. So let me update all these things. Right. So click default settings to ensure you don't have to update the organization levels when creating the materials. Okay. Now press enter to continue. As you can see here, all the information will be copied from the material 900440 and the new material number will be here. Okay. Make sure you note this material number down. Okay. Now let's check if we need to update any information for this material. So we will go to MRP1 tab. As you already know, there are 4 different tabs for MRP data. Currently, we are in the tab MRP1. Okay, as you can see here, the MRP data we have no planning. Okay, we have selected the MRP type as a no planning. So now we need to do some configurations, and based on that we will update our material master. Especially we need to create an MRP controller for our plant. Okay, to do this, what we do, let's go to SPRO. Let me open a new session and SPRO, SAP reference IMG. Right, I'm on the display IMG screen now. Now I'll go to material management, and here you will see a node called consumption based planning. Expand this node and then expand the first node, plan parameters. Now let's execute. Carry out overall maintenance of plan parameters. So once you are executed, you will be landed on the screen. So first click on maintain and check if your plant is already existing or not. In our case, the plant SK01 is already existing. As you can see here, the plant is already there. Now we need to ensure that the existing configuration is correct, especially the number ranges and the other information. Okay, let's take a closer look. Now click on number ranges and you will be landed on the screen. Now here you need to ensure that the number ranges have been assigned to the planned orders. Click on it. And you will see that the number ranges exist for the planned orders. Okay. Now here, when we run the MRP for a material, a planned order is generated. Okay, we can then convert that planned order into a purchase requisition. If it is a finished product, we can convert the planned order into a production order as well. Okay, we should also ensure that the purchase requisition number ranges is also existing. To check that, go back on MRP list. Make sure that the number ranges exist for the MRP list. And similar dependent requirements. Click on it and confirm that the number ranges exist. Once confirmed, go back and then go back again. Now click on MRP controllers and you will be landed on the screen. Here we need to create an MRP controller. So what does an MRP controller do? As the name suggests, the MRP controller is responsible for material planning for the materials. It is mandatory to create one. Okay. In the material master under the MRP1 view, you will see a field where you can enter the MRP controller. Okay. Now let us create a new one. You can either click on new entries or copy and create a MRP controller with a naming convention as, let me put it as SUK, and the description will be MRP controller underscore SUK1. Right. You can also enter the additional information like the telephone, recipient name, business area, profit center, or any other details required by your organization. These fields are optional, so leaving them blank won't cause any errors. Once done, hit enter, press save, create a new customizing request, and press enter to continue. Your data has now been saved. Okay, go back and then go back again. The next master data we need to create is for special procurement. As you already know, the special procurement represents the consignment, subcontracting, third-party procurement, and more. You can also create the master data related to MRP for special procurement as well. Let us execute this step. If you take a look, you will notice that the system hasn't provided any standard configuration for this. However, we can create new entries manually. Let's enter our plant as SK01 here, and the special procurement type as 10, so which represents the subcontracting. Okay, the procurement type for the subcontracting is external procurement, so we will enter that here as well. And the special procurement, click the button to explore the options, and from here you can select L, subcontracting. So you have a different options here for special procurement, in-house production, production from another plant, and more. Okay. For an example, if you're procuring the raw materials or trading goods externally, we can create a special procurement with an indicator F for consignments, okay, subcontractings or stock transfer. Okay, you can select the relevant option, okay, based on the business requirement. However, let us select the option L that represents the subcontracting here. Okay. Now, if you are using bill of materials, which is BOM, as I mentioned earlier, this is a part of multi-level MRP. You can select the BOM component using these options. Otherwise, you can save the configuration. Press enter to continue. Right. This is just an example. Okay. If your organization wants to run MRP for special procurement, you can configure it here in the master data. Also remember that if you don't enter any special procurement type, the system will default to standard item category, which is similar to what you have seen in purchasing documents like purchase orders and the purchase requisitions. If you leave the item category blank, it will execute as the standard item category. So please do remember this particular point. Okay. Now let us go back to the material master. Now Let us go to MRP to view. Now here you will find an option to enter the special procurement type indicator. If you click on it, you will see that we just created the subcontracting. We can also create this special procurement for the external procurement, but if we leave it blank, it will be considered as a standard. So let us select the MRP controller we just created. Alright. Now let us go back to the configurations and look at the other options. The next configuration is for converting the planned orders into the purchase requisitions. Okay. Now click on this. Here you will see an option to limit the number of planned orders that can be converted into purchase requisitions. For an example, if we enter 5, it means a maximum of 5 planned orders will be converted into purchase requisitions. Okay. However, this configuration is optional, so you can leave it blank. However, you can use it based on your business requirements too. Okay. Next, let us configure the availability requirements. Click on this. Now, you will need to assign a checking role to your plant. This is required because it defines the procedure used for the availability check for stock. If you click this button to explore the options, you will see a different rules provided by the SAP. For an example, the PP is selected by default. Representing the PP is checking rule. Okay. Now what we will do, let us change it to 01. Now what is the impact of this if we are changing it to 01? So what will happen? The checking rule determines which goods receipt or goods issue are considered during the availability check. For an example, it checks which goods receipts from inventory or goods issue from sales and distribution are included in the availability check. Okay. So let us change it to 01. Press enter to continue, and the data has now been saved. Go back. The next configuration we will look is external procurement under the planning run. Click on this and you will be landed on this configuration screen. Now here you can enter the default values for your plant. For an example, you can set the purchasing processing time in number of days. This represents the time the purchasing department needs to convert a purchase requisition into a purchase order, which means the processing time is included in the computation of the delivery date. Okay. If you want to enter a specific number of days, you can do that. Okay. Otherwise, you can leave it blank. In our case, what we will do, let us enter 1 day for this example. Next, you can enter the purchasing group. And you can also enter the default unknown account assignment. Okay. As you. So this is your account assignment for non-valuated materials. It's the default setting for unknown account assignment. Okay. For further options, you can choose U for unknown. After that, hit save, press enter to continue. Right. Now go back again. Now let us look at the another important configuration, which is available stocks. Click on this button. You will be landed on this configuration screen. Here you will see three different indicators: stock and transfer, block the stock, and restricted use stock. Now by setting these indicators, you are including these stocks in the net requirements calculation. For an example, the system will choose, okay, the system will consider stock in transfer or a blocked stock and the restricted use stock when calculating the net requirements for the MRP run. This ensures that all the relevant stock types are included in the planning processes. So that's how the system controls the available stocks. Okay. Now go back and go back again. Now here, go to MRP groups, expand the node. Now you have an option called carry out overall maintenance of MRP groups. Execute it. Now click enter your plant. Click on maintain. Next, enter the MRP group. And click the button to check if you have values already exist. In this case, no value is found. So what you do, so click cancel. Now let us create a new MRP group. Okay, click create. And enter the MRP group name. Okay. Now, why do we need to create an MRP group? While it's optional. Okay. So it is useful because it groups the materials for the MRP and assigns the special control parameters for the planning run. So these parameters include the strategy group, consumption mode, and planning horizon. Right. Now if you go back to the material master, now you will see the MRP group option in the MRP1 view. So this is where you can assign the MRP group to your material. Okay. Now go back to the configuration screen. Now let us enter the name of the MRP group. For an example, we will name it as SUKP. Okay. Description, let me put it as MRP group underscore SUK1. Right. Click create and then create again. Press enter to continue. Now the MRP group can be maintained. Okay. Click maintain and then maintain again. You will land on the screen. The first thing to configure is the external procurement document type. Click on this button and you'll be landed on this configuration screen. Here you define the default document types for purchase orders, subcontracting orders, and stock transport orders. Okay. During an MRP run, when the purchase requisition is created, you will need to convert into a standard purchase order, subcontracting order, or a stock transport order. So in our case, let us enter the standard purchase order document type, which is NB. For subcontracting, we will use the same document type NB again. For stock transport, we will use the document type FO, which is framework requisitions. Okay, and press enter to continue. Right. Essentially, if you define the default document types here, the system will use them when converting the purchase requisition into the standard purchase orders, subcontracting orders, or the stock transport orders. Right. Once everything seems to be fine, hit save and press enter to continue. Go back. And one more point related to the external procurement document. If you leave it blank, the default document will be picked up automatically. If you remember, this happens because without assigning the default value, the system will select by itself. Okay. Now let us take a look at the maximum MRP interval. Click on it and it will take you to the relevant screen. Here we can enter the number of days after which the materials must be planned. Let us enter 10, save it, press enter to continue, and the data is saved. Go back. So in this activity, we need to define what percentage of safety stock should be considered during the materials requirement planning to ensure it's available for covering the requirements. So what exactly is safety stock? It's an extra quantity of a product stored in the warehouse to prevent an out of stock situation. To see where you can enter the safety stock, let us go to Material Master again. Go to the MRP2, scroll down. We can see the field for safety stock for net requirements calculation. Now, an important point to remember, if the MRP relevant portion of a safety stock is sufficient to cover the requirements, system will not create a new procurement proposals. However, if it's not sufficient, the system will generate a new procurement proposal. These points to be remembered. Okay. The value entered here corresponds to the percentage of safety stock assigned in the material master. So what I will do, let us enter 50. So this percentage of safety stock is considered as a reliable stock along with the existing normal stock. Okay. If the total available stock is lower than the reorder point quantity or a minimum quantity, system will trigger a procurement proposal. Now let us check the material master again. If you could see here, the reorder point quantity is entered here and the minimum quantity is entered here and the minimum lot size. So let us enter 50. Save it and press enter to continue. Now go back. Now when running the MRP, there are specific indicators that needs to be selected. If you want them to be picked up by default, we can click on the creation indicator button. Now it will take us to the another screen. Here we have an options of creation indicator, purchase requisition, MRP list, and schedule line. Clicking on the list button allows us to check these options. Now under create purchase requisition, if we select number 2, it will create the purchase requisition only in the opening period. We can choose this setting here. If you want to generate an MRP list, we have options to select: no MRP list, MRP list, depending on exception message, or standard MRP list. So what we will do, let us leave this blank. Now click on schedule lines. Here we can choose no schedule lines by selecting number 1. Press enter and save the settings. Press enter again to confirm. Go back, then go back again, and once more, and finally go back again. The next configuration we will look at is defining the MRP group for each material type. Execute it, and you will be landed on the relevant screen. Here, you can set a default MRP group for each material type. For an example, the material type for finished product is represented by FERT. In this screen, we can enter the plant and the MRP group, and the system will automatically pick up the MRP group whenever a new material master is created for that specific material type. So what we will do, let us create a new entries. First, enter the material type for trading goods, HAWA. Next, include the material type for raw materials, which is ROH. The third entry can be FERT for finished products. And the fourth one will be the semi-finished products, HALB. Now enter the plant SK01 and the MRP group. Let me put it as SUKP. And here the MRP group will also be assigned accordingly. Okay, now press enter and hit save. Now at this point, a new customizing request will be created. Press enter to continue, and your data is now saved. Go back and then go back again. So the next configuration we will look at is under master data. Expand the node. Now here we have an option called check MRP types. Execute this. So MRP types are crucial for running MRP because the MRP run is based on these MRP types. We normally use V1 for manually reorder point planning with an external requisitions, V2 for automatic reorder point planning, VB for reorder based planning. Okay, so these three are primarily used for consumption based planning, CBP, especially reordering point planning, and they are provided by the SAP. If you want to create your own MRP types, SAP recommends copying an existing one and then modify it as needed, right? Additionally, there are other MRP types available such as time-based planning and forecast-based planning, which can be used based on the business requirements. Now, to explore further, you can double-click on any MRP types to check its configurations and control settings, including the reorder point settings. Now go back. Next, we will look at the defining special procurement types. Execute it. So this activity, you will notice that it is the same what we have done in the previous configuration. If you go to the position and search for your plant, you will recall that we have created a special procurement type for the subcontracting to our plant, right? So if you need to create an additional special procurement types, you can copy the standard plant settings from 0001. Okay, and you can adjust them based on your requirements post copying from the standard plan settings, right? Go back. The next configuration we will look at is maintaining the planning calendar. Execute it. Now click on create PPC planning calendar. You will be landed on the relevant screen. Here enter the plan code. In our case it is SK01, and then select the planning calendar. So if you can see here, currently there are no existing entries. So we need to create a new planning calendar for our plant. Let me name it as SUK, and then press enter to continue. Now on the screen where you need to enter the planning calendar name. Okay, so let's enter the calendar. Next, click the periods button. Now select weekdays. And then press enter. And in the next screen, enter the calculation start date. What I'll do, I'll capture today's date, 20. Now select the weekday counter and define which day the week should start on. So you can choose Sunday, Monday, or Saturday based on your planning needs. In our case, Let us select Monday. Press enter, press enter again. And now you can see that the system will generate the period calendar. Okay. If you are wondering how this period calendar is used, it defines the flexible period length for planning, procurement, and demand management and in MRP. So you can maintain the period splits of your choice. For an example, we have selected Monday. And if you work with the planning calendar, you can also display the period tables in the MRP list or the stock requirements list according to the planning periods. Now let us save the configurations. A new customizing request will be created under the maintaining the planning calendars. Press enter to confirm. Go back and then go back again. Now if you ever need to change or display the planning calendars, you can do so using the available options in this activity. Okay. Next, expand the MRP area nodes. Execute define MRP areas for plant or storage locations. So once executed, you will be landed on the relevant screen. Now you go to the position and enter your MRP area. Our MRP area is the plant, so I'll enter it as SK01. Press enter. Now here you can see that your MRP type is already in the list. So in this activity, we define the MRP areas for plant and the storage locations. So for our MRP areas, MRP type 01 is selected. So clicking on it reveals that this type represents a blocked MRP area. Okay. So with MRP type 01, the system indicates the entire plant along with all storage locations and stock with the subcontractors. So because of this, the manual assignment of storage location is not possible. If you want to manually assign the storage locations, you need to use the MRP area type 02. Confirming that it is assigned to a plant. Double clicking on plant 1 entry per area, MRP area. So double clicking on plant 1 entry per MRP area will show the assignments for this section. However, note that if MRP area type 01 is being used, all the storage locations are automatically included from the plant, making manual selection is unavailable. Okay. Since the configuration is already in place, so we need not to change anything. Go back. So with this, we have completed the MRP configuration setup, right? So this is how the MRP configuration still takes place. Next, I will demonstrate you how to run the MRP as an end user for raw materials, trading goods and finished goods, right? So that's all. See you in the next session.